everybody, John Chow with Cruise Addicts, and I'm here with our guest, Michael Consoli. If you don't know who Michael is, he's the top producer he sells more Viking cruises than anyone in the whole world. And so glad to have you here, Michael.
Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you all, everybody, for joining us here on this Sunday afternoon. We hope the weather is good where you are. I know it's really nice here in Georgia. You got some cooler weather today. And
yeah, very nice here too.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about, I know some of the top things we do here on these live streams are answering some questions. So we want to kind of recap and talk about some new things. And that's going to be how to avoid these top 5 mistakes that Viking cruisers make. There's so many little things, and people talk about it in the groups and Facebook pages. We want to share some of our thoughts on some of these top 5 things. We're also going to talk about some Viking news that you may have not heard about and recap some recent ones. We also want to talk about some group travel. People talk about what does it take to actually have a group, and does Viking even have groups? So Michael's going to talk about that before the end of our live stream. And of course, the biggest thing here is we're going to have a live Q&A. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask a total expert, Michael Consoli, please think of your question, write it down below, and we'll get to it once we cover some of these topics. So, and most of all, please, once again, thank you for being here. Please say hello. Please check in. You don't need to have a cruise booked or anything. We just want to have some interaction. That's what makes these live streams so great. So we'll get back to our topic here, which is how to avoid these top 5 mistakes. And so the big question, Michael, is what mistakes should cruisers be avoiding when they take their Viking cruise?
Yeah, I think the number one mistake people make is not using Air Plus when they take the air through the cruise line. We talk about this all the time. There are several ways to book your air, obviously independently or with the cruise line. But Viking offers a couple of different ways to participate in the air selection process, and Air Plus is one of those ways that we definitely recommend that.
So for someone that just watching this says Air what,
Yeah.
So what is Air Plus, and what does it cost and what does it do? What's the advantage of it?
So Air Plus is $150 per person as of today. And it allows the guests the opportunity to select the air, to have a say in the air schedule and routing within 10 months of departure. So we're very careful to explain that it's within Viking's contracted rate. So they have certain rates that are available to them under their fare codes with the airlines. And as long as the air schedule falls under that fare code, the guest, can select from that particular schedule or fare. So when Viking says, oh, the air's $7.99 or $12.99 or $15.99, it has to fall under their contracted rate with the airline. The process basically works like this. When you take the air through the cruise line, the air is assigned about 5 months prior to departure, and the guest is pretty much stuck with what the cruise line assigns at that point. They do have the option of going in and seeing what might be available in My Viking Journey to tweak that air. But at that point, the majority of guests who've taken Air Plus were able to select their air at 10 months prior. And so the availability of alternate flights are very, very, very limited. So already the air is limited under the contracted rate. And then if you wait until 5 months prior, then what's available is drastically limited, because the guests that took the Air Plus to have a say earlier in the process selected, the favorable flights under the contracted rate. So the Air Plus allows the guests the opportunity to book the air earlier and have a say in the schedule and the routing. And, but it would have to be from within the cruise line's contracted rate. And personally, having dealt with air, with vendors for 22 years, $150 is not that much to be able to control somewhat what your schedule and itinerary will be for flights.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point to leave off on, is that people should also know how important air is to these types of cruises. I think you told me, the majority, if not all, the cruises for Viking, you're not going to be leaving. It's not like a traditional cruise line. A lot of times where they just leave from Miami, on a Caribbean cruise. You're going to have to fly all around the world to reach your ship or your river vessel. So almost every customer is going to have to deal with air.
Yeah, 100%. You know, the air is one of the most difficult parts of the job that we do every day, simply because we want to make sure the guest expectations are met. And so it's a real challenge. It's a challenge even the days that the guests travel. You know, we've talked about this before. There are issues that arise because of flight cancellations or delays, and that you know, that can inhibit the guests getting to where they're going. And we are the safety net in making sure that they can get there you know, on time or for their scheduled departure.
Right. So what do you think is the next most important mistake to avoid that you see people make?
I think that people just have a disregard for travel insurance, and I think that that's a big mistake. I mean, we highly recommend travel insurance. I personally take a policy every single time I travel, and that's because we see so many instances where people are able to take advantage of the policy because they had something that came up that they didn't anticipate. So the travel insurance is something that I think that we get used to when we go buy a printer at, you know, the office supply store. They try to sell us the policy, and we're like, no, we don't need that. When it comes to travel, you know, it's an investment. So if this is a significant amount of money, and you know, if somebody falls and breaks a leg, or you have a relative that gets sick, a child, a parent that's going to keep you from going, that money is just lost if you don't have travel insurance. I mean, that's one example of how travel insurance would cover you. And I think that people make the mistake of not taking travel insurance, whether it's the Viking insurance or the third party insurance that we offer. I think that they just at first are hesitant to take it. And then when we explain, you know, what it covers, then, you know, they're more interested in taking it and understanding that they're covering something that could, you know, happen. I have clients that say to me, "Oh no, I'm definitely going." Well, I mean, you're not definitely going if a doctor tells you you can't travel, or, you know, if somebody gets sick or hurt or ill. And then travel insurance also covers a myriad of other things, like trip interruption if you have to come home because somebody is sick or ill, or, you know, your luggage is lost, or your trip is delayed because the flights were canceled, or because there was a storm. These are all things that we can't anticipate. So when guests are making final payment a year, 18 months in advance, or even as close to 6 months in advance, they can't anticipate what might come up that would keep them or inhibit them from going on that trip. That's the purpose of travel insurance. It's not for the things that you can anticipate, it's for the things that you cannot anticipate.
Right. And I always appreciate, even after you've said this several times in these live streams and previous ones, it always stands out to me how it's almost like I'm listening to, you know, an expert in which you are in their field say, hey, you know, you really need to think about this, because normally I'm just thinking about the end thing of being at the destination, taking the cruise, having fun. You know, I'm not thinking about how you talk to clients every day. And I think you just got a call before we went live, you know, where things come up that every day you hear about this. So you're overly aware of those pitfalls, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad in many cases when people don't have insurance. We don't like to have a guest lose money. But, you know, I have a lot of instances where people had the insurance, and I tell my guests, you'll only do it one time. You'll only get caught without insurance one time. And then after that, you'll purchase it every time, because, you know, I have a client who, and I think I've mentioned the story before. It was a very large trip, a family of 7. She's on the second day of her trip, and she broke her foot in 4 places. And she went to a Paris hospital, and they said, look, you need to fly home and have surgery. The whole family, you know, interrupted the trip to fly home. And it was day 2. And, you know, we were able to get all of their money back, except for the first 2 days of their trip. And then we just rescheduled it 3 months later. That is, you know, something that you wouldn't be able to do without travel insurance. That money would have been lost, or that family would have had to been split up so that somebody could have gone home with her and the rest of the family gone on the trip, so that they wouldn't have lost that money. So yeah, you're buying peace of mind when you buy travel insurance.
Yeah. Right. So thank you. And I'm going to put Michael's contact information down below. If you appreciate how he's open with all his information, you can give him a call. You can write him an email or contact him through his website at planmycruise.com. He'd love to work with you. I'll put that down below there. And so what's up next, do you think, comes to mind as far as mistakes that people make?
Yeah, I think a lot of people overpack for cruises. That's something that we get a lot of questions about on the Facebook page about packing and what should I wear, what shouldn't I wear, and all that stuff. And that with this particular cruise line, everything is casual. So even in the dining rooms at night, khakis and a polo shirt. There's not a dress up night. There's no formal night. On the river cruises, it's especially casual. There are no swimming pools on the river ships, except there are some exceptions to that. There are some swimming pools like in Egypt and things like that. So you most likely aren't going to need a bathing suit. I think, the people tend to overpack and, not really realize that they're going to be touring all day and then coming back to the ship and, going to dinner and then maybe going to a lecture or seeing the lecture before dinner. And then, that's the end of the day, really. So there's not like, any formal activities or anything like that. The question I get all the time is, do the hotels and ships have hair dryers? Yes, they have hair dryers. And then the ships have laundry service. If you needed something laundered, it's very easy to have done. The cost of that service on the rivers is very inexpensive. On the ocean ships, they all have self-service laundry. So, overpacking really is not necessary because you have many avenues to pursue to lower the amount of items you're taking with you.
Just as a budget-minded person, sometimes if you just save that extra luggage, if you have 2 pieces of extra luggage that you have things that you may or may not use, you could actually spend that could cost easily $200 or more through an airline just to take those luggage along, sometimes each way, right?
Yeah.
So you could get laundry done easier.
My problem is, as I said before we started the live, I always end up having to buy a bag when I come back. I always have purchased something else, more things to come home with. So, I think that if you underpack, you'll have that space in your suitcase to bring things home with you, so you don't have to buy an extra bag. So, I have a lot of extra suitcases that I've purchased overseas.
That's fun. Yeah, but they seem to be raising those prices of bags every time you travel, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And so what would be next? So what number are we at here?
So that was 3. Number 4 would be, make sure you book your excursions early. And so there's a caveat to that, because on the river, the excursions generally open a year or so in advance. And there are usually plenty of excursions for guests that are participating. Obviously, the included excursion is available to everyone. And it's all there. Everybody pretty much goes at the same time on that excursion. And the optional excursions are limited, so we do recommend booking them early. But on the ocean product, we have clients that make the mistake of booking the lowest category cabin on an itinerary where the guests are going to utilize the excursions to the fullest because they're unfamiliar with the country. And so they basically block themselves out of being able to book the excursions because they book the lower category. So because on ocean, the excursions open to the guests based on the category booked. The higher the category, the earlier the excursions open. So first the owner suite and the explorer suites open, then the penthouse junior suites, then the penthouse verandas, then all the deluxe verandas, and then V1 and V2. After everybody else is booked, the excursions open to them. So a lot of a way to avoid that is to make sure you don't book those lowest categories, because then you will have the opportunity to get the excursions when the deluxe verandas open. Or if you book penthouse veranda, it will pretty much ensure that you get the majority of the excursions that you want. Keep in mind, there are 934 guests on these ships. The Vela and their other new ship have slightly more people. But anyway, there's just under 1,000 people on these ships, and they're all vying for the same block of excursions. And whether or not you get that included excursion, for instance, at 8 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, can determine whether or not you can even participate in one of the optional excursions. So the category that you book is very important when it comes to the ocean product and being able to select the excursions that you want. And I think the big mistake that people make is they book the lower category cabins, and they don't think that that's as important.
And isn't the specialty dining also linked to that as well?
Yeah, the dining is also linked to it, and it does make a big difference about, whether or not you're going to have the opportunity to dine in Manfredi's or in the chef's table. Although on longer cruises, it's less important, and it's definitely, I think, less important than the actual excursions themselves. But just to point out, the V1 and V2, while they are the least expensive categories, they also get no guaranteed reservations in the specialty restaurants.
Ooh, wow. Didn't know that.
Only available to deluxe veranda and above.
Okay. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that. I didn't know that. I learned something today.
Yeah. That's the goal, John.
So, see, we're entertainment and education, right? So that's right. And what is the last thing?
The last thing is to make sure you work with a qualified, educated travel agent. I think that a lot of people think they can do all this on their own, and they can. But an agent like myself that has experience, that we have, the 22 years experience I have in this business, and also being the #1 Viking agent in the world for them 10 years in a row, I think is something that is of value to the client. And while they can book it directly, I mean, we have extra avenues to pursue when there's a problem. We are the safety net when there's an air issue. We are the person that they can come to and ask a question and know that they're going to get the correct answer. Working with a qualified travel advisor is going to give them the peace of mind that they have somebody, an advocate in their corner to help them when there's an issue. I mean, we have, as you know, the Viking does a really great job. And when there is a problem, we help our guests address that problem, and we help them get resolution relatively quickly. That's just one of the benefits of working with us. I think that it's, people make a mistake. They think they can book things on their own, and they think they're saving money, but they're not. The price they're paying is the same, whether they buy it from me or they buy it from the cruise line. We are going to make sure that they're getting the best price, and many times have promotions that maybe the cruise line won't even be able to offer them, simply because they're not allowed to, unless the guest has received this mailer or that special offer via email or whatever. Whereas we're able to offer whatever promotions are available at the time. And because we sell so much of it, we know what promotions are available, and we can help them take advantage of those specials. But more than that, the added value is the peace of mind of working with somebody that knows what they're doing, how to navigate the system, how to navigate the process, and see how we can save you money. Viking can only sell you the products that they can sell you. We can sell you other things as well that might be alternatives to the things that you're looking for, or in addition to what you're working with them on. So I think many guests think that they're going to have to pay us a fee. I never charge a fee for our service. Many travel agents do. I've never charged a fee. I will never charge a fee. We work for them, and we work to get them the best price and the best experience and the best information when it comes to answering their questions.
Right. And what's the best way people that want to potentially work with you can contact you?
Yeah, they can reach me at 800-913-7245, and then also via email at michael@planmycruise.com.
Wonderful. And we've done this live streams for 3 years now, I believe, and maybe even a little longer. And one thing I've learned, like you said, I'm always learning stuff from you, is just how, and through the group, is just how complicated the air is and how complicated the insurance issue is, especially when we went through COVID together, dealing with so many group members that had problems. And just those two things there, I think, are worth considering working with a professional travel agent. And of course, the best in the world right here, because so many people have problems with those two issues all the time.
Yeah.
And then they try to work other ways, and it just isn't as good as if you have someone literally in your corner 24/7. So it doesn't cost anything. If it costs something, then it would be like, oh, they're just trying to make a buck. But no, I don't think that's the truth.
No, I think that it really goes back to, people think they're saving money booking directly, and they're totally not. The only way to save money or to protect your investment really is to work with a qualified travel advisor that knows the product in and out.
Right. So we're going to go on to, once again, please ask your question below. I know we have some standing by here. We have some comments coming in. We'll review those in a second, but please ask your question below. It could be anything. It could be any product. We're here for you today. Let's have a back and forth. That's what makes these live streams so special, and we really appreciate you being here. So please think of a question and even check in. Let us know about your upcoming cruise. How's it going? Where are you? Right? So that'd be great. Also, we do have some Viking news that just actually happened this past week, I believe, is Fincantieri and Viking signed a 2-year signed a contract for 2 new ocean ships, and they're actually be coming in 2030. So they're going to be arriving and be delivered in 2030. And they also had an agreement that's going to allow for not 1, not 2, but 4 more additional ships. So that's a total of 6 ships, 4 optional that are would be scheduled for 2031 and 2032. They still have to actually put that option into agree to it, but they do have the option for 4 more ships. So that's 6 more ships potentially that could be coming to Viking. And also, if you didn't hear, Viking took delivery of their newest ocean ship, the Viking Sobek. So they were just really coming out with a lot of Egypt vessels regularly, Michael. And are a lot of your clients going on those cruises? Are they enjoying it? And what could you tell the audience about those? Because I don't know if people really know that Viking goes to Egypt, do they?
Yeah, I mean, look, Egypt sailings, we talk about this a lot. The Egypt sailings, even though that there's this situation going on there, in that region, the Viking Egypt ships continually seem to be selling very, very well. So there are by the way, there are some really great specials for November through March of 2025 that end at the end of this month, October 31st. They end. So very aggressive specials with some handfuls of cabins left on these ships. But yes, the Viking has been investing in Egypt for a number of years with these new ships. And, I have to tell you that my clients have gone and they really, really loved the experience. It's unfortunate what's going on there. And, that guests are not able to visit Israel at this time because that is a very popular extension for this trip. But the rest of the trip is operating as normal, and guests are going and coming back raving about the experience. And I think that it's something that we're going to continue to see growth for that particular itinerary. But if you are interested in traveling in the next few months to Egypt, there are some really aggressive specials that do end at the end of this month.
So great value there. So apparently maybe the demand is high, but like I said, a lot of things are going on in this world. So if you'd like to have a great value, please reach out to Michael and learn more about those specials. You don't want to pass up on those if you have the opportunity to go. And let's see here. So, we want to talk about, and I guess let's jump off into current specials. I know I'm not up on as far as what specials. I know there was the low deposit special for a while. What's the current specials that you can share with the group, if you don't mind?
Yeah, right now they're still running the $25 deposit, the anniversary sale deposit. We also have the fall special, which is a savings on air and savings on the cruise fare for both river and ocean. The fall sale runs through October 31st. Today is October 27th, so 4 more days of those specials. And then there are some very targeted specials for travel within the next 4 months with some Mediterranean sailings, some Asia sailings, China, some very aggressive specials that unfortunately we can't really advertise, but they are available to guests that are interested in traveling in the next 4 months. Some river specials as well. We have some specials available on the Mississippi with significant savings for the first few months of the year. And then there's the Egypt special we talked about. There's also some great pricing on Antarctica. There's some free air offers for Antarctica for November and December of both 24 and 25. So that's a really great offer. And all of these can be combined with past guest savings. If you're a past guest and you qualify for $100 or $200 off, those are combinable. They're also combinable with our onboard credit offers that we provide all of our guests that book with us. So there's a real opportunity to save some money if you're looking at traveling close in. And then, for those 25 and 26 sailings, this fall savings, which ends at October 31st, is definitely a great offer as well. The $25 deposit is driving business, I think, and we are busy all day long booking with that deposit offer.
That's awesome. Is there still, one of my favorite Viking cruises is the river cruises on during Christmas markets. And I know you enjoy those too. Are there any specials or any openings still available for that last minute sailings there?
I mean, there are some standard cabins available, I think, for this year, but I have to say it's really, really, really well sold. Next year is already very well sold too. Christmas markets are so popular, and I think we might see them add a couple of ships, which is what Viking does. They have almost 100 river cruise ships, and they can just say, let's just throw it on the Rhine, and so that so we may see some space open for 25, but it's the Christmas markets, as you said, they are some of my favorite, and they sell very well. I think that it's really just amazing the way that Europe celebrates the holidays, and it's definitely something that's to be seen. And one of the things that I think is fitting for our topic, right, about top mistakes. Somebody's saying, well, I've done the Rhine. I don't need to do the Rhine at Christmas. Well, the Christmas markets Rhine experience is going to be completely different than the one you did in May or September. So, you definitely want to look at that. In fact, the Rhine Christmas markets is probably one of my favorite. It's less commercial than some of the others, so I highly recommend it. The Christmas markets are not expensive cruises, but they are really amazing and fun to do.
Yeah, I'm going to be going to Paris, the Paris and Normandy sailing, the 20th, I believe, and it's during the Christmas markets. I looked it up. So yeah. I don't know how they're going to compare to the Rhine and the Danube, but we're going to give it a shot. And of course, being in Paris that time of year has got to be incredible. So we're looking forward to that. Wow. So I guess
you don't strike me as a big shopper, John. So I don't know.
Well, I married a big shopper. So, and and the stuff there, what I do like is unique things. And everything about the Christmas markets are pretty unique because they find really, really things that you can't find anywhere else that are, of course, seasonal and a lot of handmade things. I just love the uniqueness of it all. I think it's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of handmade goods. There are a lot of commercial goods, too, that are there. Yeah. A lot of handmade goods, lots of different foods to try.
Yeah.
Blue wine, which is, you pick up 50 mugs on the trip as you go if you want. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did collect all the mugs we got one from every Christmas market we went on, and we've done two. We've done it on the Danube and the Rhine, and we're like sold. So when we hit the lottery, you'll see us like, where's John in April? Well, they're at the Christmas markets every year because we love it.
Yeah, I agree.
So wow, we've covered so much. One little thing I want to touch on too is group travel. I know you had brought it up. I know people love group travel. Like you said, that the family just did one together. That's what it's all about, is spending time with family, having these great memories and creating experiences together with the people you love the most. And does Viking actually offer this, and how hard is it to set up, and what can you do to help them?
Yeah, so I mean, group travel is something we've talked about before. It is somewhat limited, so the cruise line doesn't allow it. I mean, I don't want to say doesn't allow it. We have to talk about, when we talk about group travel, we talk about actually taking physical group space for a group that is looking to do a specific itinerary. Group space is not always available on every sailing, so the benefits of booking a group are not always available on every sailing. But Viking, has gotten a little bit better about group space. And so the cruise lines consider a group to be 8 cabins or more. So 16 people or more qualify as a group. When we book a group with Viking, for instance, we have to know it's a group from the very beginning. So this is something that people are not very aware of. In other words, you might have a couple book a cabin and then they say, oh, my friends are going to come, and then this person comes, and then they end up with 8 cabins. Well, it's too late at that point to make it a group. We have to know from the very beginning that it's going to be a group. And so the benefits of booking a group typically are there's a group discount. It's not, gargantuan, but there's a group discount. Then there's one person's cruise fare is actually provided complimentary once they hit that threshold of 16 guests or 8 cabins. Again, the terms are different with different lines, and specifically with Viking, they can change from sailing to sailing as well, but that's typically what the offering is. But the most important thing to remember is that these groups have to be established from the very beginning, in order to take advantage of those specials. So we can't, add 4 couples and then have 4 couples book and then add 4 couples and then decide we're going to have a group. Once it's booked that way, that's the way it has to stay. We literally would have to start with, by requesting group space and creating a contract for that group to book together. But it is, if you are a member of a club or organization or a neighborhood or have a family group or and you're going to have 8 cabins, we always have the group discount, providing the one person's cruise fare free for every 8 cabins or 16 guests. And then we have our own incentives as well with the onboard credits. We take very good care of our groups because, the groups, they come back every year. We want to make sure that they have the best deal, just like we do with our individual clients, that they have the best deal and that they come back to us. So, groups are becoming more and more popular, especially with these ocean ships, and they're adding new ships and adding new ships. Sometimes group space is difficult to get on the ocean ships and sometimes on the river ships because a particular sailing may be very well sold and the cruise line doesn't want to give up the space for groups. So this is where working with somebody that knows what they're doing and how to navigate that process will really assist the guest when it comes to groups.
So my guess, I've done some groups before with Cruise Addicts in the past, and we've did something like a year or more in advance. And I'm guessing that's probably the best avenue for someone that maybe has a church or family, and they say, we want to schedule this and we want to make sure it's all set so we can potentially open group space in the future. Is that the best avenue possibly to come to you and say, hey, we're thinking about this time, which might be a year or more in advance. Can we lock that in?
Yeah, we definitely want to do it a year or more in advance in order to be able to take advantage of those specials, the special offers and the discounts. So we definitely want to have, have that group space pulled aside as early as possible.
And if just to talk to the people, if people might not think of these things, me and Michael talk about these things and have thought about them in the past, of course. If you're a leader of your family and you have family get-togethers, picnics, Christmas things, and you want to potentially take it to the ocean, Michael could help you with that. And like I said, but just have to plan ahead. Also, it just usually takes a certain person that wants to be the leader and likes to put these things together. And it could be, like I said, groups, clubs, churches, family members. And if you, my understanding is if you book 8 cabins, the one person gets free fare. And if there's 16 cabins, their cabin gets, they get a free cabin based on the top selling one. So if they're the minimum, there's all balconies on Vikings on the ocean, right? So they would get a balcony cabin based on whatever the group booked, right?
Yeah, it's based on the average. It's different contract to contract. Usually it's based on the average cabin, the average cabin category. But yes, they can get, if you have 16 cabins, you can get two persons cruise fares complimentary. So it's a really good deal if you know that you're going to be if you're going to have that type of group. So
yeah. You got to wear that hat. So you got to be a little bit of, many people like that, embrace it because these are your friends, these are your family, these are people that you know, and it's a great thing. It just takes a little pre-planning, and it's a nice way to travel more if, at a potential discount. But also it's a great way to create those memories with those people, because I know with all the groups we've done, and I know you've talked about it with things you've done, sometimes you can have it, you can block off some space on the ship or vessel and do something special for the group. And that's always really nice. So it makes it very unique too. Not because you're traveling with all these people, and B, you can do some special things while on board.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Sometimes there's even perks for, like, not necessarily with Viking, but like the big mega ships and stuff like that. There's off-season cruisings where they kind of want to promote block space on maybe like a smaller ship that might not be as popular as like their brand new one that's a mega one. So there's a lot of avenues and a lot of advantages. So definitely, and how can they reach out to work on that too, Michael?
Yeah, they can just reach me at 800-913-745 or email me at michael@planmycruise.com.
Okay, so we're going to get to the questions here. If you haven't already checked in or asked a question, please do. Thank you for letting us talk about these wonderful things. We wanted to cover a lot of topics today, and we hope they were interesting. Please let us know if you enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs up or say we enjoyed it in the comments. We'd appreciate it. Wow, so many comments here. And yes, we're going to add the Viking Vela to the roll call. We have the VikingExplorersBlog.com is also part of our cruise addicts and everything that we have here in the Viking group. So yes, we're going to be updating that. It seems like they're adding ships more and more. So, and then let's see here. We're going down. And Kevin is saying hello from Flagler Beach via YouTube. So thank you, Kevin. We appreciate it.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for being here.
And Paul is checking in from Facebook saying hello to Michael.
Hi, Paul. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
And let's see here. Yeah. And Mary Beth is checking in from YouTube. She goes, always use Air Plus. I pick my flights and send my pics to Michael, and he gets them booked on Delta flights and gets seats assigned, which I know there's a big thing about the seat assignment and everything, right? All these little things add up and you get a little bit, it's almost like when you were talking about it, it's almost like it's a fast pass for air travel through Viking, or the lightning lane.
It is. I mean, it's really, it gives the guest a little bit of control. First, I want to say thank you, Mary Beth, for the shout out. Thanks for being here. And she's been a long time client. I think that, it's really important. People are very opinionated about where they want to sit, what flights they have. It gives them some control over what they will end up with. And that's what people like about it. And that's what I like about it. It helps me get my clients what they want. And so that's why we encourage guests to do it.
Very nice. And this one guest here had a question through YouTube. Do you have any recommendation on how much cash to take on a cruise? Also, should you have PIN numbers for the credit cards? Great question.
Yeah, take a lot of cash. No, I'm just kidding. Unless you're like John, whose wife likes to shop, and then you will still need a lot of cash. But listen, most vendors in Europe and elsewhere in the world take credit cards. With the cards that have chips in them, PIN numbers are not necessary. So no, I don't recommend having a PIN. The chipped cards are very secure, and I recommend making sure that you have a card with a chip in it. Also now, you can pay with contactless pay or Apple Pay at a lot of these places as well. And that is also very secure and easy. But as far as cash goes, we generally recommend that you take money out of an ATM. It is the least expensive way to get local currency, and you can control how much you need along the way by doing so. So instead of taking $1,000 in euros, or Swiss francs out before you leave and then being left with 500 on the way home, you can take it out as you need it. That's the best way, in my opinion, to get local currency, is to just take it out of an ATM. And I'd have people are like, well, I need it right away when I get there. Well, most of the time when you get off the plane and you're going to get your luggage, you have to wait 10 minutes. During that 10 minutes, while somebody is watching for the luggage, there are 15 ATMs in the luggage claim area where you could just go ahead and take money out. We also recommend doing so from a bank that you recognize the name of, like, Deutsche Bank or something like that. But I never recommend getting it at a convenience store at one of those small ATMs. We always recommend doing it at a full bank ATM. That is the easiest way and our recommended way to get local currency.
Yeah, and one thing that comes to mind is especially in the last couple of years, but even more so now, this has been kind of building in the travel world, is you have to contact your bank or credit union to let them know that you'll be out of the country and you'll be traveling, and they're going to want to know what places, they're going to want to know how long, and then what places, what destinations you're going to be going to, and somewhat very specifics like Paris, France, the different countries. But and then they kind of basically make sure that they're not going to set off any alarms in their security department, and your card's not going to be usable, which could happen if you don't call your bank. So that's even more important.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. Some of these banks, and what you're saying is 100% true. I have to say that nowadays with technology, if you have the bank's app on your phone and you turn on location services and give the bank's app the opportunity to see your location, you probably won't ever have a problem getting cash out, because they actually utilize that information to are physically there. So very interesting. But yes, because we travel all over the world, with our groups and all that stuff, I actually give access to my bank to have that location so that they know it's me that's using the card. And but John's 100% right. Make sure you talk to your bank and you make sure that they're aware that you're traveling outside of the country and that you will be using the ATM card outside of the country, so that you don't get stuck without being able to get cash out of an ATM, or having to call your bank from, Europe or wherever you are.
Yeah, and some of the banks even have it through their apps, like Michael's talking about, where I think my credit union, once I called them, said, "Oh, by the way, you can go in the app now as a feature and set the time ranges, and it just kind of opens it up just by changing the settings in there, and then it expires once you get back." But so it's all unique to whatever institution you're using, but don't be, and you need to do that for every card you're going to be using potentially. I know it sounds a little bit of a headache, but you may be using 2 or 3, but make sure you check on those. So that's the advice there. So hope that helped. And Joyce is checking in from Facebook, Michael, and she says, Michael's team is the very best. I choose Michael every time. And I agree.
Thank you, Joyce. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. And Marilyn Bridges is checking in from Facebook. She goes, we're waiting for our passports to be returned. Can we book our air or have to wait?
Well, that's a tough question, Miriam. We do recommend having your passport in hand when you're making the air arrangements, because if for some reason, and we see it all the time, the U.S. Passport Office changes the way your name appears on your passport, you will have to change it on your ticket. And if that happens after the air is ticketed, there is a fee to do so. So I would recommend waiting until you have your passports to make your air arrangements, unless you're very, very close to your travel date. And then, you might need to work with Viking or the travel agent that you're working with. These are questions we answer every day and situations we handle every day to figure out the best way for you to book the air without your passport in hand.
Great. And I've heard the turnaround time's pretty quick nowadays. So hopefully it's going smoothly for you.
Yeah.
And Viking Phillips is checking in from Facebook. So good to have a Viking here.
Yeah.
And Yvonne is checking in from Facebook as well. And she says, always enjoy these sessions and thank you. The next cruise for them is in December and really ready to go since it's been 6 months since my last Viking cruise.
I know, Yvonne, that's too long. I agree 100%. So,
and that's a perfect time. You just start missing it and like, you know what, I need another one. So
thanks for being here, Yvonne. It's great to hear from you.
And Joyce agrees. She goes, Christmas markets are my all-time favorites. And I'm typing right with you, Joyce. Uppercase, boom. Definitely, they're our favorite. We love them. And we're hoping they'll have some in the Paris area. So, and Doug has a question, Michael. He says, does Viking offer free or with cost upgrades for unsold cabins?
They don't really offer free upgrades. I will tell you how it works. The process is dependent on several factors, including the status of the agency you booked with, or the status of your particular status with them, how many times you booked with them. The free upgrades, while we do see them for our clients, they happen like the week prior to sailing, and they are, just granted based on how many sailings the guest has with them. And that's how it's done. But they are masters at filling their ships. So they have, I have to say, very few opportunities for upgrades. They don't offer reduced cost upgrades until you physically get on board. If there's space available once you're on board, they may offer you a savings for booking that, making that cabin change once you're on board. Right now, they are only offering complimentary upgrades to in specific situations. So to answer your question, they're not like other lines that come and say, hey, for $5.99 you can upgrade to this or that. They just don't really do that, and they have not yet caught on to what other lines are doing, which is making everybody bid on cabins to fill those upper cabins if they go unsold. So it's a great question. I think they probably have the highest sell-through in the industry, and so we see very few of those happening.
So that leads me to a question. You're talking about the old days where everybody would get on board, especially at mega ship, and they'd all go to a certain group would always go to the customer service desk and say, hey, is there any upgrades available? And so is that something that, I don't know if you want to recommend that or not, but is that something that's worthy to try?
I mean, it's worth trying. I have to say, I think that it happens very, very rarely. And sometimes people don't show up for a cruise for one reason or another. For one of the things that we talked about at the beginning of the live stream, like with somebody being sick or can't have to cancel unexpectedly. And so sometimes there are upgrades available. Many times cruise ships will put a sign up that say no upgrades are available.
I've seen that, yeah.
That, but again, they're masters at filling their ships. So I think it's very rare that they would have available cabins for upgrades, but it's not something that they typically do before the guest actually departs.
Nice, thank you. And Cindy is checking in from Pennsylvania on Facebook. Cindy, thank you so much for checking in. We appreciate it. And Kate is also saying hello, Michael.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for being.
Wow. So we really appreciate everybody checking in, asking some questions. If you have any more questions, please definitely don't hold back. Don't be shy. We've got the world leader of Viking cruise sales here. He sees things and hears things and knows things that, like I said, he even has secret squirrel sales that he can't even tell us the rates. So that I just want to call you up and say, what is that? What's the deal? I want to know.
I know. Yeah.
But that's great. That's what it's all about. And I think that's the truth why I don't want to sound like a sales pitch here, but when someone's selling a product, no matter what it is, it could be Royal Caribbean or Celebrity or Carnival or any of these brands, Regent, and of course Viking, you see things. There's so many deals. I sold cruises for a little while, and the rates sometimes can be multiple things that the general public never sees and is never offered to you through a website, and I'm sure through a call center a lot of times. So that there's things out there that the general public may or may not see. So it's always.
That's true, not only of promotions, but also, I mean, we have a lot of people when they call us, we talk to them about dates to travel and where to go and what itinerary and things like that. And there are caveats with, that we go over with them about that. And, so there are a lot of things. And I just want to say, we are very proud to be I'm very proud to be the number one producing agent in the world for Viking 10 years in a row. But we just got back from our annual convention. We also are the number one producing luxury agency, the number one Regent Seven Seas agency, the number one talc certified agent agency, top producing for Celebrity, top producer for Seabourn, Silversea. We sell a lot of everything. I've been in this business for a long time, and we know a lot about the products that we sell. And we bring that information to the guest to help them make an educated decision about where they want to go, when they want to go, who they want to go with. And I think that is the one single thing. I do not consider myself to be a salesperson. We never do the hard sell. That's not our process. We want to help the guests make an educated decision about where they go and what they do, and we give them the tools to do so in a way that they can't get online or from a Facebook group or calling the cruise line directly. We are able to give them the comparison between these different lines, between these different experiences, between the different months to travel, the different itineraries, the different cities to start and stop in. All of those things, I think, are factors that when you call the cruise line directly, they're not going to go over with you. They don't have that. Their goal is to make the sale. Our goal is to make a relationship with the guest, to continue to make sales with them and develop a relationship that they feel comfortable that we're always providing them with the right information and sending them on the perfect trip. And that's what we do.
I know you touched on some things just now, but after 22 years and of course dealing with all these different lines, what is the top three things that you think the customers, I mean, there's obviously more than some of those things that make you the best, but what are the top three things that you think your clients really, really enjoy the most about dealing with your business?
Our accessibility. So, I make myself available to my clients all the time. While I've been on this live stream, I've answered 2 emails from a guest who's looking to book something today because there's a special that he wants to take advantage of. I mean, we make ourselves very available. We're honest. I think, my business is like any other business. There are people that are out there just to make the sale. We really want to develop a relationship and get the guest on the right product. I think that's really important. I think guests appreciate honesty. They appreciate, the fact that we're upfront with them and we tell them exactly, what our opinions are and why our opinions are the way they are. I think people appreciate that. And I think that, we're always going to make sure we get the guests the best price. And so it's usually making sure we we're available to the guests, making sure that we're fitting them to the right experience across the board, not just with Viking, but with any line, and also making sure that they're getting the most for their money, regardless of whether they're spending $50,000 on a luxury cruise or $500 on a 3-night Royal Caribbean cruise. We want to make sure that they get the best value.
And that's a trust in the relationship, right? That if the customer feels like they've got a great value, and it was, of course, the relationship, then it all works together to have a long-term. It's not just a one-off sale, right?
Exactly. It's not. We never look at it that way. It's always about developing a relationship. If I have somebody who calls me and says, we're looking for the lowest price, or we're looking for, we just want to book the cruise, and they're not our client. Yes, we're going to make sure they get the lowest price. Don't misunderstand. But our client is somebody who's looking for somebody to advise them and make sure that they're taking advantage of all offers, and that we're making sure that we look out for all caveats and all of those things to make sure that they're well taken care of. That's the guest that we work best with, and our business has grown immensely because of that.
Right. Awesome. And I'm glad people, like I said, I've been doing this. This was our 25th year, and it's incredible. I've sold cruises at times, and I know some of these things. And but people, I think the general public still doesn't realize how it is, the benefits of working with a travel agent. And like you said, some travel agents do charge a fee. I've sat at tables with them, and they'll talk about their business
model.
Thank you. Yeah, the business model, and they're like, I always charge.
Yeah.
Right. And they kind of declare it, right? And it's like, why? Because there's no reason for it. Some things, I think, some products take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and people do price check to travel agents, and you do basically, it could be costing you too much money to sell this product. So I do get it. But I think I'm glad that you're sharing these things, because I think the general public still doesn't realize it. And people declare on the groups all the time, I do everything myself, but then you've shown all the pitfalls to some of these things, to not have to someone that's an expert to deal with the air, the insurance, and all these things.
The guest that wants to do things themselves, part of their biggest caveat to that is that they feel like if they had to get to the cruise line to make a decision, they have to go through the travel agent. And that is true. We are the person that they have to go through to get a payment made or a change or whatever. However, we overcome that because we make ourselves very available. So if somebody emails me and says, I need to do this in the next 10 minutes, we're going to follow up with them. I mean, it's not going to be something that we wait until Monday to do. And I think that that's the biggest challenge that people have, or they think that they're processing money in-house. I mean, we have a lot of that. The people think we're taking their money in-house and then paying the vendor later. We process all of our payments directly with the vendor. So God forbid something ever happened to me, their vacation is still intact and unaffected by that. So we never collect funds in-house. We process all of our payments directly with the vendor. There are a lot of caveats that people worry about with working with travel agents, and I've spent 22 years overcoming those challenges. One of those is making sure we're available when the guest wants to make a change.
And it just kind of stuck in my head, so I'm just going to say it, is when you deal with the travel agents actually have a whole back end with the cruise lines that the general public doesn't have. So they can call their contacts and their relationships and access to change things and do things. They don't have to go through the front door. They actually have a whole back end of tools and resources that the general public doesn't, that you have to deal with if you had to call an 800 number, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So Cindy's checking in again. She goes, this live was very informative. I've been on 3 Viking River cruises, more in my future. Wonderful to hear.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cindy.
And Carol has a question here. I don't know if you can see that, Michael. And she's asking about this waiver and how does it affect my Viking cruise in June of 2025, which includes Amsterdam, Denmark, and Norway.
Yeah, so I would not worry about it, Carol, until you have official word from the cruise line that you're going to have to do that. This is something that has been pushed back by the EU for a number of years, and we don't know if it's going to be implemented or not. But I will tell you that when it is implemented, it will be a simple process and a fee that you pay online to have the visa. It's not something that's going to require you sending your passport off or anything like that. One of the reasons why they keep delaying it is because they're unable to set up the technology to make it that easy for you all to process that visa. So as soon as we see that, we will see it change, and you will get a notification from Viking that you need to do that. It will not be as complicated as a visa sounds.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's spam. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, we'll get through it here. So yeah, we're just cleaning some. We have a spammer, so please disregard if anybody messaged you. We're trying to block it. And let's see here. So if you have any more questions, please. We've got a couple minutes left. We'd love to hear you. If you just want to check in, that'd be great too. So yeah, we'll take that off. Sorry. My multitasking skills were kicking in because we've never had that happen before. We're getting big here.
Yeah.
So yeah, please ask a question. I'll try to think of some more questions, or if Michael's got any more comments, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so I really appreciate everybody being here and being able to participate in the live stream. It's always fun to answer people's questions and answer John's questions and to share the knowledge that we have. So thank you so much, John.
Yeah, thank you. And if you haven't already, everybody, please subscribe, follow us, whatever you're watching us. We really appreciate the support. It helps us continue doing what we're doing. And it ticks all the algorithms. Everything's an algorithm nowadays. You have to poke it sometimes. So we really appreciate that. If you have any more questions, we'll stand by here for a second here. And if you haven't checked in, please do. We'd love to hear from you before we head on out for the day. Let us know what you're doing the rest of the day. What are your plans for the rest of the day? We really appreciate it. But let's think. I was curious, is the Viking, Mississippi doing well? Is there a lot of sales of the Viking, Mississippi? I saw some pictures recently that some friends had gone on it. I love that. I love the vessel. It looks amazing.
It's an area of growth, I think, for them, and they are really trying hard to make that product what people expect the Viking experience to be. But in order to sail on the U.S. rivers, it has to have 75% U.S. staff. So it was a challenge when they started, but my clients that have been on it in the past year have raved about it and said it's wonderful. I think it's doing very well.
That's good. Yeah, I know there was a lot of challenges there. And it seems like they're ironing them all out over time. I know they even put the vessel in a dry dock to make some changes to it. And that was kind of unique. So it's great to see that they're kind of, I know they were going to go real aggressive initially, but it seems like now that they're ironing those things out and, of course, building that team, US-based team, and I'm sure it'll only get better and better for future growth. One day it's going to be like the Egypt one. One day there's going to be like, oh, they got 4 of them now,
Yeah, and I'll tell you what are the standouts really are the Great Lakes cruises on the expedition ships. Really incredible experiences that my clients and myself, I've been on it twice, 2 different times, different parts of the Great Lakes, and it is an outstanding experience. I would highly recommend it, and probably some of the best service and food that I've ever had on any Viking ship I've had on those ships.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll adjust any of this stuff here. Let's see if we can fix this. Yeah. Oh. Well, we'll adjust this later. Sorry. Well, we're almost done with this. We really appreciate everybody watching today. I think anything else, Michael, that you can think of you want to end with?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity, and I certainly would love to help anybody interested in making sure they get the best value and the best service on planning their cruise. And you can reach me at michael@planmycruise.com or 800-913-7245.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. We really appreciate taking the time, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. See you next time.
Thanks, John. See you guys.
Thanks, Michael.